Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink. It is time for some Path of Exile 2 discussion. Today, we're going to be talking about exploits. We're going to be talking about a thread that has disappeared on Reddit, but the reason you're looking at it in old Reddit and you're looking at it not in dark mode is because if I close this thread, then I'm going to lose it. I happen to have it open before it closed, and so I'm going to be able to discuss what's been revealed in this. There is some big stuff going on in terms of major item generation and modification exploits, and we'll have a quick look at the way that that is definitely going to have an ongoing effect in the Path of Exile Trade League economy. Every crafting technique that we're going to be talking about in this video is bannable cheating, and grinding gear games have a history of when these sorts of exploits are found, they really swing the ban hammer hard. These are not going to be you're banned for 7 days. They're not going to be you're banned for 30 days. They're not going to be this account is closed, but you're allowed to make a new account. These are going to be permanent bans, and also the names of everyone that's involved in it will be put onto an internal GGG blacklist to never be allowed to play any of their games again. So let's start with this thread firstly. This thread makes several claims. I consider a couple of them to be proven. So let's go through some of the claims that are made in this thread. Now, I just want to start by saying that the claims that are made about a particular streamer intentionally shilling builds, knowing that it's using a duplicated item in exchange for large kickbacks, I just think that this doesn't seem to be proven at all. There's plenty of people who don't like that streamer because they've competed with them in Meritier crafting in Path of Exile 1, and as a result, there's plenty of people who would have somewhat of an interest in seeing that person's reputation destroyed. Because of that, and because there's just no evidence here, I'm going to say that I don't accept that part of this thread. However, the most significant one is that there's a rollback crash that's allowing people to basically apply an RNG currency to an item, then if they're not happy with the result, to undo that. That is definitely happening. Anyway, the way that this has been going is that people have been applying currency orbs to items and then intentionally causing an instance crash if they're not happy with the results of that currency effect. Now, when that happens, there's a rollback, and for certain currency items, this doesn't work. The Exalted Orb, the Divine Orb. These ones, when you apply one of them to an item, the database updates and it saves the result. However, it does not appear that for Vaal Orbs, this is the case. And the reason I want to say that, this is the evidence that's not mentioned in this thread, but that convinced me. I went into this with an attitude of, I'm not convinced either way, but I'm a little bit dubious about this because I know there's been a whole bunch of maliciously false claims made on the Path of Exile subreddit in order to stir up drama in the past, especially when Meritier crafting is involved. So I did a little bit of research. What I did was I looked at the item Ingenuity. Ingenuity is a really powerful item, and it's also one that Vaaling is very desirable. Now, Ingenuity has a roll range from 40 to 80 when no Vaal Orbs are involved, and when Vaal Orbs are involved, it can go as high as 98%. The higher this roll is, the better the item is. One thing that's important to note, we have a vague sense of how Vaal Orbs work. It's not completely cracked yet, but everything I've been able to try and work out indicates that the chances of getting an Ingenuity to corrupt beyond 80% are definitely less than 5%. So let's have a look at the Ingenuities that are available for trade, shall we? We're going to be restricting this to only look at ones that are corrupted, but we're not going to put any other restrictions on it other than it just has this stat, which the item always has. Now, we have a look here, you'll see there are 506 of them at the time that I'm recording this video. How many of them are 81% or above? Well, let's have a look at that. Oh look, we have 52. That's about 10%. Now, it's only 1 in 4 or 1 in 3, depending on whether you use an Omen of Corruption, that it changes the value here. And if it does change the value here, the best I can work out, it's about 10% that it's going to end up being 81% or above. It's also going to be about 10% that it's going to end up being 39 or below. Now, you are going to actually sell your low Ingenuities. You're going to list them on the market because you're thinking, yeah, this kind of sucks, but I'm going to try and get some of my currency back. The item is so valuable, people are still going to be interested in it. We'll have a look here. We have only 23 that have failed the other way. But the thing that I think makes this even more damning is when you consider, what do people do if they corrupt 3 copies of Ingenuity? One of them goes 86%, one of them goes 74%, and one of them goes 42%. Well, they equip the 86% one, they try and sell the other 2. The one that's listed for 74%, that probably sells and gets equipped by someone. The one that's 42%, that one just sits in their inventory for a long time, probably doesn't change hands very often, and it's not really equipped very much. It's on the market. So there should actually be a bias towards more of the low rolls showing up than the high rolls. However, we're seeing exactly the opposite. Something here is not right. Something here is a little bit fishy. What I believe is going on is the exploits that are outlined in the thread, that they actually apply to Vaal Orbs as well, because I was thinking, if this exploit's real, and I knew about it, and I was willing to cheat at games, then this would be one of the things that I would do. I would have targeted Ingenuity. There's other things you target as well. There's things like Meritia crafting. That sort of gets outlined a fair bit in the thread as it is, but Ingenuity was immediately where I thought of. There's a whole bunch of other items you could do this with as well. So the core of the exploit was that you apply an RNG heavy currency to an item, and if you're unhappy with the result, you basically force a rollback by crashing the server. This is something Grinding Gear Games have been very, very severe about bans with in the past. It's something they need to be very severe about with bans now. It's something that causes the trade league economy to lose integrity. It's something that also causes a situation where there's a bunch of extra server strain that's being placed, which then degrades performance for legitimate players of the game. Ultimately, what I want to see here is a whole bunch of bans and a thorough write-up from Grinding Gear Games outlining just how bad the problem is. But then, I got to factor in that these items, a bunch of them are going to have been laundered by now. There's going to be a whole bunch of people who traded for a Temporalis in good faith, not knowing that it was created through some of the dubious means that I speculate resolved from causing an instance crash after commencing your trial of the Sekhema. I'm not exactly sure of the mechanics of that because I'm not a cheater, so I wasn't involved in some of the theory crafting of exactly how you do it, but there's a few ideas that I've got that might actually have worked, and I assume it's going to be one of those. So, some of these items are going to have been traded. Some of them are going to have been given away. This is one of the things that people involved in cheats, and particularly people involved in gold selling cheat sites, that these sites do. They try to get innocent players caught up in it, in any ban wave that goes on. With that in mind, I think that ultimately the best solution we've got is going to be to create a new economy, and that means starting a new league. Of course, the best time to do that is when Grinding Gear Games fix up the debacle that's been Magic Find, but that would be an entirely different video. Anyways, wanted to bring this to your attention quickly while it's still live. This is likely to unfold further over the next day or so. I'm going to leave it there. May your Vaal Orbs have interesting results, and please don't do any nasty shenanigans that might get you banned with them. No one likes a cheat. And Happy New Year to everyone, except for anyone that was involved in flagrant cheating, duplicating of items, and causing server crashes in order to get a little bit of a head start in collecting pixels in a video game you're about to get banned from anyway.